Did you know that I have a Patreon page? If you want extra content, you can subscribe to my Patreon to see videos that will never be uploaded to YouTube, like this, and this, and this one here.
Wow!
My Patreon account also features brand new types of content like behind the scenes and hot takes. Patrons are also the first people notified of any changes to my schedule. Go to the first link in the description if you want even more content.
Have you come back to join the mercenaries?
I've come to reclaim my fleet.
It's no longer your fleet.
Then I challenge you.
Oh yeah, give me the crown. I'm feeling limitless. I've been the king of this. I've been the GOAT, putting it down. I'll be the infamous one who be killing shit. Who want the smoke? Fuck is you bow? I'm about the discipline. Gotta be vigilant. Move like a pro. Running my town. Bitch, I'm the illest man on a mission. I'm ready to blow. Give me the crown. I'm feeling limitless. I've been the king of this. I've been the GOAT, putting it down. I'll be the infamous one who be killing shit. Who want the smoke? Fuck is you bow? I'm about the discipline. Gotta be vigilant. Move like a pro. Running my town. Bitch, I'm the illest man on a mission. I'm ready to blow. Blow.
In order for her to wield the Darksaber again, it must be won in battle.
Instead of simply sending the 1 minute and 50 seconds of previously awning for being 1 minute and 50 seconds of previously awning, I'd like to send it for being the most contextually spoilery previously awning we've seen to date. If this had included a sad droid, a Back to the Future trailer, and a Saxaboom rendition of About Damn Time, we wouldn't have needed to watch the episode at all.
Discount Jeremy makes two pop culture references that aren't Sins of the Episode cliché.
Sporting a fish in a champagne coupe instead of a flute, or the much more appropriate Bordeaux glass.
Making an unfunny joke instead of learning how to actually be funny.
Not giving us an explanation as to why the captain's the only one that gets a tank and the rest of these fishholes just have to be dry.
Because he's the captain, like you just said? Presumably the ship doesn't have the space for multiple tanks, and it's probably pretty expensive as well, so...
Can't destroy everything I've built for a childish fling.
Is that all this was to you?
That's not what I meant.
When did this become the CW's Mandalorian?
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a Sin of the Episode cliché.
This is interesting.
Careful with your exuberant adjectives there, Mando. A 2-minute recap followed by 3 minutes of calamore does not an interesting episode make.
Discount Jeremy double dips cliché.
Proceed to your Hyperloop pod.
Disney bet hard on the monorail and lost, so now it's shifting gears so it can cash in on all the Hyperloop hype from 10 years ago.
And the sin is what exactly? Look, this episode is pretty bad. It shouldn't be difficult for you guys to sin it, and yet he's still pulling all of the same crap that he always does, at least so far.
Please do not attempt to leave the vehicle. This is not a request.
We're going to learn a lot about how much of a paradise this world is, but somehow no one's ever voted against the whiplash-inducing dramatic timing of these hyperloops.
Because they're clearly not harmful. I mean, I love how you say this when nowhere in the episode do Mando or Bo-Katan get whiplash, so it's just a complete throwaway of a sin.
Come! Everyone, special guests, Mandalorians.
Listen, I love Lizzo and Jack Black, but whenever Star Wars does these type of cameos, it's like they're pulling the curtain back on the whole production to say, hey, look who it is! Takes me out of the story every time.
Yeah, I agree. This was weird and had an overall atmosphere of being very forced. It felt much more like a cheesy Marvel movie scene than a Star Wars scene.
Fazio suffered greatly under Imperial rule. My husband came here as part of his rehabilitation.
Okay, let me get this straight. Captain Jack here worked for the Empire and as a rehabilitation/penance was sent to a planet abused by said Empire where he managed to marry his way into the royal family and be an elected leader? How many war criminals do you know that were given their own fucking planet to rule?
He wasn't given this planet. You're using your words in a very deceptive way. He married his way into leadership, which helped him get elected. He wasn't given that leadership by the rehabilitation program.
Doesn't take kindly to strangers.
Saying this instead of, this baby might be able to kill you with its mind.
Seriously, I don't know what the point of this sin is. Was it meant to be a legitimate criticism? 'Cause if so, he didn't say anything of value, and if it was meant as a joke, he didn't say anything funny. So either way, it's sinful.
This series seems confused about what Grogu's supposed to be. Sometimes he's a baby, sometimes he's a Jedi, and other times he's just a puppy.
Nope, he's always more or less been all three. You just don't get that because you haven't been paying attention.
We held direct democratic elections for the first time in our history.
We are both royals and elected leaders.
Yeah, but earlier the automated thingy said,
Welcome to Pleasure 15, the Outer Rim's only remaining direct democracy.
and if you're electing representatives, then that's not a direct democracy. That's a representative democracy with direct democracy institutions.
This is actually another good sin. Damn, this video is turning out better than their average so far. Please don't fuck that up.
Actually, what does this have to do with us?
Katie Sackhoff's question to the writers about why the characters are even in this situation somehow makes it into the episode.
Although I agree, that still counts as a discount Jeremy double dips cliche.
The Mandalorian garrison outside your city walls can make quick work of your battle droids.
Our charter forbids any standing army from entering our city.
But somehow that same charter is totally fine with an Imperial cruiser, complete with shuttles, camping up just outside of the city on a f***ing technicality? What's to stop them from hiring more mercenaries and building an army that way? Sure, this keeps the citizens of Pleasure 15 safe, but it doesn't do much to prevent that pesky Imperial tendency to dominate the galaxy.
Welcome to politics, dude. Laws have loopholes that can be exploited if the wrong people choose to do so. Why are you expecting a government to be perfect?
People have voted we are a pluralistic society. You are Mandalorians. Weaponry and armor are intrinsic to your culture, are they not?
I don't think you're using pluralism in the way that you think you are. Yes, being pluralistic means that you're accepting of a variety of political and cultural ideologies and even incorporate them into your system of ruling. But you don't have to be pluralistic to allow visitors from other cultures. This is like bragging that you're an all-you-can-eat buffet and therefore the only type of restaurant that allows people to bring in their own food. It might be true, but it has nothing to do with the buffet. I also might be hungry.
His point was that their society is legally pluralistic, which by definition means that their society legally recognizes every culture. Because of this, Mandalorians would not have their weapons confiscated from them, which would happen to anyone of any other culture. You mentioned how you don't have to be pluralistic to accept other cultures, and that's true, but seeing as the Mandalorian culture has weapons at the center of it, which are illegal in this society otherwise, the distinction is actually important. Remember how I mentioned loopholes in the previous sin?
Also, I'm fine with exploiting loopholes, but this loophole applies just as much to Axe's Mandalorians as it does to Bo and Den here. I see no reason why you couldn't have asked them to clear the droid problem as Mandalorians in exchange for the defense contract.
Because Axe's Mandalorians are an army, whereas Bo and Mando are only 2 people? There's a big difference. Think of it this way. Axe's Mandalorians are an official mercenary group, which makes them by definition an army. Mando and Bo are simply 2 individuals not affiliated with an official army.
The mercenary captain, Axe Wolves, indicated that he split from you because you had designs on ruling Mandalore once again.
Why the f*** did that come up? Why would Axe be chatting about the life goals of his predecessor with a complete stranger that shouldn't give a shit?
Bo-Katan is pretty famous, so it's entirely possible that Lizzo already knew her and asked Axe about her. Regardless, simply asking a question does not necessitate a sin.
His plans have been abandoned.
The offer stands nonetheless.
Dude, she just said those plans have been abandoned. Why are you standing by this as an offer instead of cash?
Because she still wants Mandalore to be a sovereign state, regardless of who rules it? Why aren't you paying attention?
You had me at battle droids.
And you lost me at the Jerry Maguire reference.
Wait, how did Discount Jeremy know what I was about to say about him?
These droids were all reprogrammed to serve the community.
Great Scott! This is how we get Doc Brown in Star Wars? I mean, it's about damn time, but in a minute, I'm gonna need a explanation for the Mando cameos.
Yay, another pop culture reference. Also, Discount Jeremy tries to sing in a video cliche.
Why not turn them all off?
The citizens voted against any interruption in droid services.
Reminding me that we live in a world where I can't sin this vote for being unbelievable and stupid.
Admitting that the stupid vote is not a sin and then giving the episode a sin anyway.
We're engaged to hunt down and eliminate the malfunctioning droids.
There are no such droids.
These aren't the droids you're looking for in a Star Wars story, cliche.
That's not a cliche, my man.
Holy inevitable Skynet uprising, Batman. That is a lot of droids.
Discount Jeremy makes 2 pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode cliche.
There are a billion droids here, and of course, this works on the 3rd one that he kicks.
Do you think the episode would have been more enjoyable if it had waited until the 172nd droid? Really, dude? The show is just saving us some time, that's all.
Mando ducks so that this box can kill the people behind him, instead of scratching his precious armor.
It's called instinct, Aaron. Do you really think someone who's in a chase is running through all the different potential outcomes in the mere seconds before the box makes contact with them?
Keep going!
All of the impossibly perfect, there's no way he could have predicted when the droid would pass by the window and perfectly self-defenestrate himself to victory bullshittery that we just witnessed in this stunt.
Agreed. Look, I've been letting a whole lot of decent sins pass by because I didn't want to waste time by addressing each one individually, but I'm going to remove 5 sins here. This episode felt like a really shitty acid trip and was just too strange to be enjoyable, and the TVSins writers have actually done a passable job at sinning it.
I don't think they get many of our kind here.
We got a sudden record stop, and now this line. Man, this show is hitting all the notes in its composition titled Entering a Bar Cliche.
Again, that's not a cliche.
Stay where I can see you.
Oh, come on, Mando. That's asking a lot when you're talking about a helmet that limits your field of view to about 12 degrees.
Was that supposed to be a joke or a legitimate criticism? Actually, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's a sin.
We don't want to be replaced. We still have a lot to contribute.
We get all of this world building and a fascinating sneak peek into the lives of this very specific group of droids on a planet we've never seen before, but when it comes to the Force, we get f***ing midichlorians. Great.
Sinning something that has nothing to do with the episode at hand? That's dumb.
It's Nepenthe.
I'm sure the droid will have the actual answer, but I'm willing to bet it's exactly whatever the plot needs it to be to make this side quest make sense.
Yes, Aaron. A fantasy series makes things up to drive the plot. How the hell is that a bad thing? Isn't that literally what every single fictional story is? A made-up event and or object that causes a story to happen?
So Nepenthe reprograms the droids that drink here?
It patches the programming as the commands of the mainframe change.
Let me get this straight. Organics created droids to do the work of organics because droids can be optimized and don't need downtime. But then those same organics created a social bar situation as a way to send software updates in the form of imbibements. Why? Why isn't this just downloaded?
Ah, and now we're getting to that classic TVSins deception. I knew they were going to revert back to lying at some point. The specific lie in this sin is that the organics created the bar situation and the process of imbibing Nepenthe. Later in the episode, in the lab tech sounds very surprised when they say that the bad batch of Nepenthe was brought into the planet by the security office. She even says that it's illegal. This clearly implies that the droids are the ones who get the Nepenthe and have created the whole bar situation autonomous of organics.
These are the remains of the latest malfunctioning droid.
On this episode of CSI The Outer Rim, droids need a coroner for some reason.
I love how he says all of this when they find out some very useful information about the droid because they brought it here. It's like he's complaining about the characters doing something smart and that thing paying off. Also, yet another pop culture reference.
Chain title says it didn't arrive on Plaisir through droid acquisitions.
Wait a second. It didn't go through droid aqua...
Hold on, I have no problem with you finding the scene boring, but this is the exact part of the scene that disproves that earlier sin, and you just blew right past it. TVSins is just like the Republican Party. Lie to your face and sweep all evidence that contradicts their views under the rug.
I trigger this failsafe, it will convert the planet's docile workforce back into battle droids.
More like a fail unsafe. Am I right?
Oh, shit.
Okay, let me get that for you, milady.
Using living things as space bocce balls.
Pointing things out on the screen.
I also give to you both our highest honor, the key to Plaisir.
Do they always just have that thing on hand?
That fake-ass laugh.
While exploring Mandalore, I was captured, and this blade was taken from me. Bo-Katan rescued me and slayed my captor. She defeated the enemy that defeated me. Would this blade then not belong to her?
What the f*** were you saving this story for? You have the whole thing laid out with all the justifications and you were keeping that shit in your pocket? Bo could have just died fighting Axe body spray over there. What the f***, Mando?
Agreed. Yet again, I'm going to remove 5 sins. Not only for this one sin, but for a bunch of other decent sins he's had before this one. This episode is just a complete mess, and I have no idea how anyone thought it was a good idea.